Do you know what the student-to-teacher ratio was in that school? Was it any different to any other school?
No, I don't, and I don't think it was. But there may be a slight difference here, right? No, I don't think it was when she moved in. And this may be a difference between. You have to tell me if there's a difference between her situation and yours. She came in when she took over the school. Not only were the kids, underperforming, but she also took over a fairly major budget deficit, right? And that, in England, even primary heads are responsible for their own budgets, and that was partially to do with the fact that she had an aging teaching population in the school who had gone up through the salary grades, and it was very expensive because you're budgeted on a sort of on an average. And I think she went through a process over time of shedding quite a lot of those people, bringing in.
Deliberately going through and shedding.
Yeah, well, it's easier. It's not as easy as that.
No.
It's not as easy as that.
So weighted food.
Yeah, I think what we find typically happens is that what typically happens in England when a principal takes over a new school, and it's a very, very underperforming school, they will try very hard to have the odd public hanging, right? So they'll try and get rid of, 1, 2 members of staff, all right? But to do any more than that is impossible. It creates just too much energy. It requires too much energy, right? But it may be that just making a couple of critical appointments can actually shift the balance a little bit. And then what you typically find is that staff then elect not to stay in the school because the culture is changing. And they think, it's not really where we want to be, and it's probably not where you want them to be either, and it changes over time. That's what typically happens.
Sorry. That sports program, like obviously at lunchtimes and
Yeah.
recesses, the kids were looked like they were organised and loving it.
Yeah.
Was that a program that was specifically designed to have an influence on the discipline or the management of kids? So it was deliberate, or it sounded like it just sort of happened, but that was deliberately done.
Yeah, it was. And I think, like all of these things, they happen sort of serendipitously. They were really worried about the poor behaviour at lunchtime. This was a big presenting issue, right? They were wondering, how do we deal with this? Also worried about the kids weren't getting enough activity and so on. And then they did have a partnership with a local football club. And typically those partnerships are about the football club saying, you come and see us and we'll give you a few free tickets. But they got into the coaching and off they went, But it's quite interesting, not that I would necessarily advocate football as a school improvement strategy, but a lot of the schools that I'm sort of having back in my mind who have actually used sport and used activity to deal with behaviour, but also to give a richer experience to the kids, and also give a richer experience to the dinner ladies, and the parents. And this is, part of Rick's question earlier, became part of the community focus of the school.
David, do you know anything about the demographics around ESL in that school?
Oh, right. No.
The majority, what was that, Jamaican or?
I think most of the the majority were Afro-Caribbean kids. But whether ESL was an issue, I know that I don't think it was as. See, it's a good Melbourne intelligence tester. I don't think it was as acute a problem as it is in some of your schools, right? There wasn't, I don't think, an influx of a refugee population in the early stages of this. I think there was later on, because Bristol became more recently a bit of a dumping ground for, sorry, that's the very pejorative use of words, but it's not, it's more a reflection of government policy. They don't deal with it terribly well. But it wasn't an acute problem when she began to take on the school.